Even with all the disappointments that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has had at the box office over the last year, there's no doubt that people thought Guardians of the Galaxy 3 would be different, that the final chapter for James Gunn and the Guardians, that this would bring people to the box office, this would get people back, even if they weren't interested in something like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumanium. Even if that was a colossal flop, wouldn't be the case for Guardians. But then we started to see the projections, and the projections were shocking. Not only did it look like this movie might struggle to make its money back, but it looked like it wasn't even going to line up to what the second one did, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, all the way back in 2017. And as we got closer to release, those numbers, the projections, continued to drop all the way down to between $110 and $120 million opening weekend. And now we officially have the first Thursday in the books. And even though the mainstream media is doing their best to paint a brighter picture than what's actually happening, the numbers for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the Thursday previews, line up exactly with what Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania just did. The same Ant-Man and the Wasp that failed to reach $500 million in its total worldwide run. The same Ant-Man and the Wasp that had a horrific box office opening. That's what Guardians is now matched up to. Box office, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 earns franchise best $17.5 million in previews. And just like we saw for Thor: Love and Thunder and Ant-Man 3, the franchise best is thrown in there. Unfortunately for them, that franchise best that compares back to 2017 for Thursday night previews, Thursday previews are just not the same now as they were 6 years ago. There's way more showings on Thursday. The MCU brings in way more money with these Thursday previews than they did before. And we're going to go over all of these numbers, but this is how they paint the story. The Guardians of the Galaxy are blasting off the box office one final time, earning $17.5 million in previews for director James Gunn's Volume 3 finale. It will expand to 4,450 theaters nationwide on Friday. The newest entry will take the box office crown, which it will, from Super Mario Brothers. Obviously, that's a movie that's been out for, this will be the 5th week. And of course, they made $35 million with an extended overseas opening. The first Guardians brought in $11 million on Thursday. Its sequel reached $17 million to land a $146 million opening weekend. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 will try to wash the bad taste of Marvel Studios' Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania out of fans' mouth. The third Ant-Man movie also had a $17.5 million Thursday preview night and opened to $106 million. This is what we're talking about here. Comparing it to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is what it did 6 years ago. It did certainly open to $17 million on Thursday when there weren't nearly as many Thursday preview showings as there are now 6 years later. But look at when it compares to the other things that have released in the last year. Thor: Love and Thunder. This is a movie that made about what Guardians needs to make to break even. This would be the break-even point for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, about $760 million, because $250 million budget, massive marketing budget, you only get about half of what you're actually seeing in the box office goes back to the studio. This is a movie that needs to hit $750 million to break even. That's the number for Guardians of the Galaxy. And what did Thor open to? Almost $30 million on a Thursday. What about Black Panther: Wakanda Forever? Same story. Opened to nearly $30 million, just under that, on a Thursday. But Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the biggest failure that the MCU has likely really ever had, at least in recent memory at the box office, that made the exact same on Thursday that Guardians of the Galaxy did. That is a nightmare. If it tracks the same level as Ant-Man, if Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 tracks to that same level, this is an Omega level crisis, red alert for the MCU. And this is something I saw Eric talking about this. Eric Weber said, Guardians of the Galaxy hits play with $17.5 million Thursday, even with Ant-Man, but $10 million less than Wakanda Forever, $11.5 million less than Thor. Could we actually see this debut under $110 million? I don't think that's in store, but I don't think it's going to reach the same levels of $146 million of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 opening. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about a movie that now is on pace. According to all the projections, they're saying $120 million. That's right in the area, in the realm of what this might do. This doesn't make any sense to me, because I went and saw this movie, and I didn't love it. I didn't love it. I thought it was fine. I thought there were some problems. A lot of the emotional notes didn't hit for me, but for a lot of people seem to dig this movie. And to me, undoubtedly, it's better than everything we've seen from the MCU, at least over the last several years. And I've seen theaters that are full, but it doesn't seem to be resonating with everyone. So I don't know what this movie is going to do. Right now, the projections are bad. The projections, despite the mainstream media saying, hey guys, it opened to a bigger Thursday than Guardians 2. It's a very different state of the MCU now, and theaters are in a very different state than they were 6 years ago. It's still tracking to take in, I don't know, maybe 20, 25, $30 million less than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 did on its opening weekend. If it continues to track like this is horrific for Marvel and the MCU. I tend to think it'll overperform, but right now I have no idea what to expect. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.